Well, good morning. Thank you, council members, for finding me wandering the hall and leading me in here to the chambers. Mr. Chair, council members, elected officials, valued employees, people of King County, and to our Bellevue City Council, thank you for inviting us into your chambers. And Mayor Lee, I congratulate you on your selection as mayor. This is another milestone in our long journey, emblematic of the growing diversity of Bellevue and of the East Side and of all of King County. You know, bringing this speech out of the courthouse and into the cities of King County is more than symbolic. It reflects our determination to bring government at all levels closer to the people we serve. A year ago, we gathered in Kent to celebrate the spirit of partnership that secured the protection of the Green River Valley. I've come to Bellevue today to highlight, and Mayor Lee, you used this word, the dynamism of the East Side, to underscore that we are truly a regional government, serving a people, a culture, an economy that more than ever transcend municipal boundaries. I'm here because Bellevue, like so many employment centers, is proof that if we keep doing our jobs, the jobs will continue to come to King County. We all know that King County is a great place to live. Nearly 2 million of us now. The 14th largest of America's 3,000 plus counties, larger than 14 states and the District of Columbia. A global center of commerce and research, of philanthropy and culture. One of the most beautiful and diverse and successful places in America. And speaking of successful, no city in King County has reached skyward over the last decade like Bellevue. It's a skyline transformed by investments from powerhouses like Microsoft, bedrock institutions like Overlake Hospital and PACCAR, mixed-use developments like the Bravern, and public buildings like this beautiful City Hall. Ours is a growing region, and within our reach is a unified, prosperous future. In the civic landscape, boundaries are starting to matter less, but the effectiveness of our public institutions in a changing and dynamic environment matters even more. So since we're on the East Side, let's talk in computer terms. If our region once reflected the rigidity of a slow-running mainframe, we are now graduating to the fluid and open access of the cloud. Jobs, mobility, a robust economy, a healthy environment. These are the priorities of a growing population and an entrepreneurial class that knows no bounds. And this area is a regional epicenter of this important and lasting shift in our civic life. So as we enter the third year of my administration, I want to take this opportunity to remind us all of where we have been, take note of a few recent accomplishments, and then highlight some of the challenges in our immediate future. The common thread running through much of the success that we have enjoyed is a spirit of partnership. Partnership in service of a shared prosperity, finding a way for people to work together, people who perhaps didn't work so well together in the past. Together, we secured the repair of the Howard Hanson Dam and the replacement of the South Park Bridge, something many said couldn't be done. Together, we created a new regional approach for animal services that has increased foster care and adoption and brought us closer to our goal of taking all healthy and treatable animals that come to our care and finding them a loving home. We extended our regional jail contract, avoiding the cost and turmoil of building even more new jails. We called for an end to the political arm wrestling over the new allocation or the allocation of new bus service, and agreed on a new approach based on productivity and fairness and data. And speaking of bus service, last summer the people turned out in record numbers to demand that we do the heavy lifting to keep 600,000 hours of bus service on the road. And this council joined with me to do just that. And I thank you. Couldn't be done. That's what many said. But we got it done through hard work and our willingness to work together for the benefit of this entire region. The state of county government can be found in this simple fact. King County is back on sound financial footing. Our credit outlook is stronger than that of the state or of the federal government or most other local governments. We are doing things right, and those who study our work are taking notice. Over the weekend, I finally saw the movie Moneyball. Now, if you haven't seen or read it, I'm just going to ask you to bear with me. It's a true story about an underfunded baseball club that figured out how to compete by rejecting convention and innovating. The county used to be a little bit like the New York Yankees. Its first response to a problem was to throw money at it. Now we're more like those 2002 Oakland A's depicted in Moneyball, smart and scrappy, finding inefficiencies in an established system, seeking out the highest performance at the lowest possible cost, getting the best value. Of course, the 2002 A's did not ultimately win the World Series. But happily for most of us Mariners fans, neither did the overpaid, overhyped Yankees. But we in King County are determined to win. By re-examining everything we do, questioning the old conventional ways of doing business, seeking the most efficient and effective ways to reach our goals, we can help put our region in a position to compete and win in a rapidly changing world. That means getting the most value for each dollar. And to be fair, it also means having enough carefully invested dollars to get the job done. So my job and our job is to ensure that government works, that it works for all the people, to support safe communities and accessible justice, a clean environment, the ability to get around, a chance for everyone to thrive and succeed regardless of the circumstances into which they were born or the zip code where they live. King County is not a business, but we can and should be businesslike, knowing our customers, working to meet their needs. You know, it begins with our employees who have risen to the challenge we set of finding new ways, even in tough times, to deliver for the people. The recent ice storm once again showcased the commitment to public service of people like our bus operators who drove their coaches through the ice and snow, or the roads crews who worked 12 hours on, 12 hours off for more than a week to clear the snow and then the ice and then the fallen trees, or the public health staff who prevented carbon monoxide poisonings by raising the alarm, alerting the public to the hazard of lighting barbecues inside, saving lives. There were so many more. A few of these thousands of workers have joined us here this morning. And if they would, I'd like to ask them to stand and receive our thanks. I said the county's back on sound financial footing. That doesn't mean we're back to the level of services or the level of revenues that we came to expect in the old days. We may never see that again. Potential cuts in state support for public health and human services, for example, are largely outside of our control. But we are aggressively managing those things that are within our control. Being on sound financial footing means we're no longer forced to drastically slash services year after year due to what we used to call the structural gap between our revenues and our expenses. For now, we are getting savings, more value for each dollar through efficiencies, employee-driven efficiencies. We've partnered with our employees to deliver the same level of services each year at 3% less cost. And we're giving them the authority to make it happen. Our primary tool in this effort is the practice of continuous improvement and employee engagement, known in the business world as lean. License tabs renewed by mail used to take 3 weeks to get back to our customers. Our employees figured out how to do it in 5 days, taking out the unnecessary time and cost. License renewals for taxi drivers took 2 months. Now it's less than 10 days. Why? Our employees figured out how to do business better. These pilot projects have shown tremendous promise. And so this year we will focus our efforts into a continuous improvement unit to train leaders within each of our agencies and spread the lean philosophy. And we're being joined by our countywide elected officials. Employees in the elections office, for example, are developing process improvements to prepare for this year's presidential elections. And staff in the sheriff's office are standardizing the deployment of deputies across the county to save overtime and match resources to call loads. Employees are excited to be part of the solution. With Lean, they take ownership and more pride in their work. You know, every so often, people at work stop me in the hall or in the elevator, and they tell me about an innovation in their workplace, some success in which they had a hand. More than a few have shared how pleased they are to hear people now speaking well of King County in the press and in the public. They, like us, take pride in their work and pride in the success we are creating together. So I want to again thank our employees and our employee unions for having the courage to partner and to innovate. When we entered this City Hall today, Mr. Mayor, we were greeted by a Service First desk. Well, we're going to make Service First the culture at King County as well. So hundreds of supervisors and managers have received high-level training on what customers want and how better to deliver it. Every department now has a single point of contact for customer service issues. And we've established a translation policy for access by the nearly 1/4 of our residents who speak a language other than English in the home. And we've increased the number of public documents provided in other languages. You know, it wasn't that long ago that our permitting department was the most maligned of our agencies, the source of many complaints, good people struggling with old ways of doing business. Upon taking office, I brought in a new management team that introduced a fixed fee model for cost certainty in permit applications, implemented 1-day drop-in over-the-counter permits, and developed a smoother intake process. And I'm pleased to let you know that the customer service at our Department of Development and Environmental Services will take a dramatic leap forward this year. We're moving our main office to the city of Sammamish, bringing services closer to the center of our customer base. Mayor Larson thought he just lost a tenant. That's not true. And at the heart of this new office will be a customer assistance center to provide all of the drop-in services at one counter. And even better, online, customers will be able to apply for almost every type of permit or get immediate approval for simpler permits without ever having to drive into the office. And that is just one department. The next big reform of the whole of King County government is underway. In the mid-1970s, when I was in junior high school, and John Spellman was serving as our first county executive, the county began installing what were then state-of-the-art payroll and finance systems. The same systems we were still using until last month. 35 years or more, I think we got our money's worth. And it's been 20 years since the voters of this county mandated that the old municipality of metropolitan Seattle and the King County government become one. Ever since that vote, the county has struggled with two separate payroll systems, one for King County and one for Metro, and two separate financial systems. Some of these systems used COBOL, computer code dating back to the 1960s. They could not talk to one another, and any kind of countywide management or budgeting had to be done by hand. So I brought with me today a little something to show you. So this is an example of our old purchase orders. And by old, I mean last month. Have a look. They're produced on dot matrix printers on 4-ply carbon sets. My younger staffers were amazed. Some had never seen quadruplicate carbon sets before. It's like the rotary dial phone or an 8-track tape. 15 years ago, an attempt was made to merge these multiple systems, and it failed very publicly. About a year before I took office, the county began again. The stakes were even higher, but things were not going that well. On taking office, I decided to bring a new technology team in and to hold them accountable. Well, today, at the beginning of the year 2012, we're finally sweeping away the outmoded paper processes and the redundant data entry of the past. Today, I am pleased to say that the Accountable Business Transformation Project, ABT for short, has gone live, replacing the 1970s business practices and 1960s computer code with 21st century efficiency, one modern, efficient business backbone for King County. So now with one click, managers, policymakers will finally have access to real-time information on payroll and budgets and procurement. You know, other marriage issues have been receiving a lot of attention in the press the last month or so. But today I am pleased to declare the union of the municipality of metropolitan Seattle and King County to be finally complete. We are truly one King County. Harold, you may kiss the bride. I want Caroline Whalen and her team and all the employees in all our departments who delivered this success to please accept our thanks on a job well done. Caroline. And Fred Jarrett, You're going to have to surrender this commemorative Metro paperweight from your stint as a member of the old, unconstitutional Metro Council. It's time to let go, Fred. I was actually going to ask Sue to send someone to seize this from your office. You know, all this is just the tip of the iceberg. We have accomplished so much in just 2 short years. And yet there is so much more work to do. Even as we redouble our government reforms, this year we look ahead to new challenges on transportation, transfer stations, juvenile justice, energy, climate change, animal services, and so much more. On transportation, nothing we do as a government does more for a strong economy than ensuring mobility for people and freight. On the way here this morning, we paid the toll on the 520 bridge. I insisted that we wait until past 10, so it only cost $2.25. The new 520 bridge will provide a safe and transit-friendly connection between employment and residential centers in this one big city that straddles Lake Washington. Even before light rail, nearly 1 out of every 5 commuters to downtown Bellevue already uses public transit, and in Seattle, that number is more like 1 out of 2. The transportation we build creates the land use we live with. Light rail will soon be crossing the I-90 bridge, bringing workers and shoppers and visitors to and from the east side. Light rail will reach the new Spring District in the Bell-Red Corridor, feeding the growth of what will be the county's most dynamic new residential and commercial center, bolstered by development rights transferred from the rural area. The recent decision to align light rail through Bellevue took vision and leadership from Bellevue City Council members, Sound Transit, forward-looking business leaders, and so many others involved in achieving this historic outcome. So that's why I'm committed to working with regional leaders to regain ground lost on Sound Transit 2 due to this recession, and realizing the vision of light rail connecting Redmond to the east and Everett to the north, and yes, Federal Way and Tacoma to the south. But leadership is crucial. The governor and many legislators are heeding our call to at least grant us the local funding authority to fix our roads and bridges inside and outside of cities. And lawmakers in Olympia can see we've done our part for transit in King County. We've reformed and streamlined the system and adopted interim funding. Now, we need long-term transit funding options to keep our buses on the road and our economic recovery on track. On energy, we've set an ambitious but achievable goal of meeting fully half of the county's energy needs from renewable energy sources. This year, we'll fire up a cogeneration system at the West Point treatment plant. It'll convert sewer gas into heat and electricity for the plant, the equivalent of enough electricity to light up 2,000 homes. We've identified county buildings and facilities where community partners can invest in solar panels to generate green power. And this year we're installing 54 more charging stations for electric vehicles for a total of 81 in our regional network. Now, on climate change, we will release the results of a new study that quantifies the impact of local consumption on the global environment. And let me just tell you the bottom line. Buying local isn't just good for our economy, it's good for the planet as well. Animal Services has emerged from years of criticism from advocates and others, myself included. We decried the shelter conditions and the inflexible thinking. You know, as late as the 1990s, nearly every animal that was sent there was put down. But today we are on track to make animal services a model of government reform and humane care. When I took office, we brought in new management, and 27 cities joined us in a partnership to turn that operation around. Now we're getting more value for each dollar, increasing outside revenues, moving toward a sustainable system, and we have dramatically reduced euthanasia and increased adoptions. In recognition of this new direction and newfound success, we have renamed the shelter in Kent the King County Pet Adoption Center. And you can see in the lobby of Bellevue City Hall today the new logo for Regional Animal Services that captures the joy of pets that are cared for and loved and finding happy homes. My first year as executive, we focused on putting the government's house in order. And then we raised our sights to the work of getting the region out of the grips of this global recession. We will get through this, but recovery is not happening quickly enough for many of our neighbors. The new jobs report says that national unemployment fell to 8.3%. The latest rate for King County is 7.2%. We are doing better than the nation. But that doesn't matter if you're one of the 80,000 in King County still out of work 5 years into this recession. This isn't about government directly creating jobs. It's about creating the conditions and building the infrastructure to allow our economy to flourish, to produce good jobs with good wages and benefits, so that we can all, again, believe in a future where the next generation can do better than the last. I fought hard, and I will continue to fight until we expand the Washington State Convention Center to create thousands of much-needed construction jobs and draw 130,000 more visitors to our region every year. Because every year that we delay, we're leaving $250 million in new direct spending on the table. And I will seek more opportunities like the development of the Kingdom North lot, where a sea of asphalt will become 2,700 much-needed construction jobs and $750 million in economic activity, not to mention $20 million for King County, $10 million for the general fund, and $10 million for Metro Transit. You know, I grew up across the lake and across the Duwamish River in West Seattle. My parents were teachers. My grandfather and his father were mill workers. And when I was growing up, the parents of my friends all were able to make a good living working on the docks or at the steel mill or at Boeing. I want King County to be a place where you can live and perhaps even become wealthy. But you don't have to be wealthy to live. A place where you can get educated, get trained, get a good job, buy a decent home, raise a family, someday retire, and live better than your parents did, and know that your kids are going to be able to live better than you did. The technology sector is one path to that vision. Another is our world-leading aerospace sector. That's why we have convened regional partners, including the City of Bellevue, in a new King County Aerospace Alliance. The aerospace industry, including Boeing and hundreds of smaller manufacturers and suppliers, demands highly trained workers, and it pays them with a family wage. Our alliance has one goal: to foster the long-term economic vitality, growth, and global competitiveness of the local aerospace industry, to keep our legacy of these family wage jobs in King County and our region. You know, it's great news that the 737 MAX will be built in Renton. And we will work to extend the rapid ride bus system to connect that Boeing plant to workers across this region. We will push to remove the choke points on I-405 and Highway 167 and the intersection between the two, all part of the aerospace highway for the movement of parts and supplies. This work is important because we face global competition, not just from legacy manufacturers in Europe, but from upstart manufacturers in Russia and China and Canada and Brazil. To be competitive, we need to build also a local pipeline of skilled aerospace workers and engineers. So here's an opportunity that we can seize that aligns perfectly with our commitment to equity and social justice. For youth of all circumstances, including kids born into poverty, they can get a good education and learn a skill and get a good paying job and have that chance to do better than their parents did. Our goal must be to make the business environment outside the factory floor as efficient as Boeing and its employees have made it inside, a kind of region-wide lean exercise. Next week, our partners in the Alliance will join me to announce the findings of our King County Aerospace Competitiveness Study, along with an ambitious action plan for aerospace. The findings confirm the competitive advantage we enjoy in aerospace and the commitment, momentum, and follow-through it will take from all of us to maintain our advantage. Well, I look forward to the challenge because this is about preserving a vibrant manufacturing economy in King County and opportunity for literally tens of thousands of workers. Even before we had a manufacturing economy, King County had a resource-based rural economy, small farms and businesses. In many places elsewhere, farms are disappearing. But thanks to farmland preservation bonds approved by forward-looking voters in 1979 and a strong commitment to preventing urban sprawl, we've protected farms and forests in King County for 30 years. Here in the shadow of Boeing and Microsoft and Amazon, here in the home of 2 million people, King County now ranks ahead of 2/3 of the counties in this state in the value of agricultural production. And we're 3rd in Western Washington, behind only Skagit and Whatcom counties. Farming in King County is changing. It's entrepreneurial. It's not only about growing crops and raising livestock. It's about adding value, turning apples to applesauce, milk to cheese, greens to salad mixes, and delivering fresh produce to your home. Now, in and around Woodinville, more than 80 wineries are showing off vintages that are the envy of the world. And meanwhile, down in Enumclaw, we're getting ready to turn cow manure into electricity. That's the entrepreneurial spirit. In fact, I was in Enumclaw recently to check in with Wade Bennett of Rock Ridge Orchards. In October, we held the first annual Executive Small Business Awards right across the street at Mainbauer Center. It was a great event, 7 in the morning. If you have the stomach for that this year, it's going to be a lot of fun. And Rock Ridge stood up to a whole bunch of competition. They grow apples and pears and raspberries, and they make them into premium ciders and fruit wines and jams. And they stood up to the competition, and they took home the prize for Rural Business of the Year. I don't know if Wade is here today. Is Wade Bennett here today? Well, I want to recognize that not only did he win an award, but he's actually contributing by joining a group I put together, the Rural Business Advisory Group, to consult on emerging and evolving needs of those making a living in our rural area. So together, farmers, foresters, others working in rural King County, we're working on continually improving our policies and codes so that farmers like Wade can prosper. We will ask, how can we do better Where can we remove unnecessary barriers? How can we leverage local markets to keep forestry and farming and other rural industries profitable in the state's most populous county? So the agenda I present today, it's one rooted in reform, it's nurtured with collaboration, and it commits us to a sustainable, long-term prosperity. But great prosperity only matters if it's also broad prosperity. If it's fueled by jobs in both the rural and urban areas, it fits in both traditional and new industries. If it produces a high quality of life with parks and play fields, with arts and cultural opportunities for all. If children have access to a great education and the opportunity to use their talent and their drive to fulfill their potential. No one is guaranteed success. But there's no reason that every child in a county this big and this prosperous shouldn't have the opportunity to succeed. So where we find barriers to that vision, I ask that we work together as a region to remove them. Then we will have done something truly worthy. In this changing world, coming out of the worst recession of our lifetimes, we in King County and the Central Puget Sound have the opportunity to do something which few regions can aspire to compete on the global stage. Whether we step up to that challenge is not so much a matter for a squabbling Congress or a shell-shocked legislature. It is for us, the leaders, the thinkers, the entrepreneurs, the remarkable people of this place to choose. Yes, we face challenges. But I, like many of you, I think, believe that our best days really are still ahead of us. I have faith in the creativity and the innovation of the people of King County to build a sustainable and a shared prosperity. It is not going to be easy. It takes partnership. It takes discipline. But my friends, city council members, members of the county council, we're doing good work. Let's build on what we've accomplished. I thank you for your partnership to make and keep the state of King County strong. Thank you.